from California today.
Hey.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Stay tuned.
have to leave.
What's that?
I'll probably have to read it after the meeting.
Oh, sure.
I saw it's long.
Yeah. Yep.
I think I read that before. No?
Yeah, because it was sent out. So then the rest of it is the follow-up that we did in chronology.
everybody out of here in a beautiful evening. Again, thanks for coming to the regular school board meeting, Independent School District 204, Kasson-Mantorville. We do have a quorum. All board members are here tonight. If you'd like to address the board, you're certainly welcome to do that. There are comment cards at the back. If you get that to Ms. Brewington before the public input, then she'll get those forwarded. With that, we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is behind you.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Thanks, Angie. In a second. Thanks, Patrick. Any discussion, any changes they have? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of agenda, say aye.
Charm to behold, winning hearts, spreading warmth like stories untold. Genuine kindness flows from her heart's care, her work ethic unstoppable forevermore. As she embraces the role of a tiger anew, Lake City, a comet inside her forever shining through. Farewell, dear Rihanna, with a tear in our eye, your departure leaves a void we can't deny. But as you embark on new horizons, we say, thank you for the memories as you go away. Your impact on our community is immeasurable, leaving behind a legacy truly remarkable. With gratitude and warmth, our hearts alight, wishing you the best as you take your flight. Ariana, shine on wherever you may roam, our appreciation for you forever unknown. Or forever known. As you leave our heartfelt farewells, in our minds and hearts, your presence dwells. Thank you for everything you've brought to KM, Ariana.
I will be.
Coach Jennison, Coach Noel, Coach Sick. You swing on down. I know they've got they're kind of long-winded, probably 30 minutes here.
Definitely.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Can you just introduce yourselves a little bit, though?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Hello. Oh, it's on. Hello. My name is AJ Jennison, and I am head coach with Mitchell Knoll here of the Kasson-Mantorville Boys Track Program, and we both started this year. So, yeah. Sounds good. Okay. Keep it pretty short here, but we have a list of school record holders and state attendance for this year that have all been very, very hardworking individuals and accomplished a lot of great things this season, so we just like to recognize them. Up first are school record holders. Keegan Cummings, Sydney Knutson, Bella Knutson, Delaney Ah, and Carlin Gustafson for our girls program. And then I will call down our boys record holders as well. That is Emmett Rickey, Maddox Knutson, Tim Schultz, and Josh Bugle. Oh, and then we do have a list. Many of these were state attendance as well. On the girls' side, we had our girls 4x1 team, Sydney Knutson, Bella Knutson, Delaney Ah, who is not able to be here today, and Carlin Gustafson go. And then for the girls, Bella Knutson also went in the 1 and 200 meter dash, and Delaney Ah in the high jump. And then on the boys' side, down here already is Emmett Rickey for high jump, and David Oates went in the 2 mile. So.
Thank you.
Hey, great here.
All right, I got everybody. 1, 2, 3.
And sorry, I forgot to mention, when accommodations are complete, you're certainly welcome to leave, but certainly not before Coach Mann steps up here. I think Coach Mann's next.
I just want to recognize our 2023 softball team as they had a combined GPA of 3.837 and were academic gold for the AAA. So come on down, girls. just pass the mic on to each of them and they can introduce themselves, and some of them have graduated and moving on to other things, but surprise.
Ella Babcock, graduated senior. Abby Simons, junior. Emily Olson, 9th grade. Rebecca Birch, going to be a senior. Andrea Fitch, going to be a senior. Robert Grover, graduated.
Grace Mann, gonna be a sophomore.
Cara Frenzer, gonna be junior. Aliana DuBois, gonna be a senior.
Aubrey Abbott, graduated.
Callie Richards, gonna be a senior.
Michaela Curran, graduated, was a senior.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I'm sorry. I just got done voting. I'm sorry. I'm going behind that. I will give it that. I'm even good.
Where do you want?
Yeah, literally.
And Coach Frankie. Now.
All right, I'm here to recognize the 2023 baseball team. They also achieved academic goal with a 3.641 GPA, not quite as high as the softball team, but it was top 5 in the state for our class. So if the boys could come down, we'll have them introduce themselves.
Noah Swartz, graduate. Tyler Paulson, gonna be a senior. Drew Frederickson, gonna be a junior.
Grady Babcock, gonna be a sophomore.
Eli Peterson, gonna be a senior.
Sam Grunke, gonna be a junior.
Ben Larson, gonna be a senior.
Parker Well, I'm gonna be a senior.
Owen Nelson, gonna be a junior.
Adam Darville, gonna be a senior.
No, I forgot. This is one thing I forgot.
All right, I got everybody. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
First thing that comes out of Tyler's mouth is just go.
Yeah, if you came for common accommodations, thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Have a great night. Enjoy the weather. So with that, we will move on to 3.2, consider approval for the resolution for acceptance of gifts and grants. Richard.
I, Angie Richards, introduce the following resolution to accept $24,093.03 and move for its adoption. For grants this evening, whereas KMCE has successfully applied for and been awarded a PK stabilization grant for $6,820 and a PB stabilization grant for $2,548.70. For gifts this evening, whereas KMES PTA has generously offered to donate $550 to KMES Title I Family Engagement Event, whereas KMES PTA has generously offered to donate $33.09 through the Amazon Smiles to KMES student activities, whereas the Rochester Area Foundation has generously offered to donate $1,200 to KMFCCLA for nationals, whereas KM Lions has generously offered to donate $800 to KMFCCLA for nationals, whereas Empower You Wellness has generously offered to donate $50 to KMFCCLA for nationals, whereas the Kasson American Legion has generously offered to donate $1,000 to KMFCCLA for nationals, whereas Zebo Law Office has generously offered to donate $150 to KMFCCLA for nationals, whereas Hoff Auto has generously offered to donate $100 to KMFCCLA for nationals, and whereas Mantorville VFW Post 4555 has generously offered to donate $1,000 to KMFCCLA for nationals. Whereas First Children's Finance has generously offered to donate $705.86 to KMCE for PK childcare and $759.85 for PB childcare. Whereas People's Energy Cooperative has generously offered to donate $2,000 to KMCE for outdoor classroom supplies. Whereas an anonymous donor has generously offered to donate $5,583.05 to KMES Tahar for remaining student lunch debt. Whereas Kelly Raymond has generously offered to donate $480 to KM Activities for a 1,000 point basketball record board. And whereas KM Powerlifting Boosters has generously offered to donate $312.48 to the KM Powerlifting program.
Thank you for that motion, Angie. Do we have a second? Thank you, Brandon. Any comments? Once again, incredibly generous community providing those gifts and grants to our school district. So with that, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the resolution for acceptance of gifts, state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Thank you. And we are on to board committee reports. Land facilities does not look like it's met anything. Okay. Personnel. I don't believe personnel is met either. So on to finance. Finance did meet long meeting the other day, and I'm just going to pull up the agenda because it was probably a 2.5 hour meeting.
Did you want me to pull it up?
Yeah, if you want. So in your packet, you'll see the first thing was reviewed the fiscal year 24 budget. You do have that in your packet tonight. Are you going through the whole thing, Bob? Okay, so Mr. House will be going through that tonight. Then we looked at the at-will contracts for the AD, the TLC, and that new, the new job description, which is the Director of Student and Staff Support System. And we looked at accounts payable, that and the elementary TLC position. So you have those contracts there attached. We also went on to discuss Superintendent Matuska's performance package for 2023. We had an entire meeting going through his contract and those earlier. So just a quick, I guess a quick note on those. Back in 2011, when the district hired Superintendent Matuska, I was there with Board Chair Kai Paradise when it was proposed by the school board to add, as part of his pay, a performance section that was 10% of his salary. And the thought behind that back then, and I think has continued forward over the years, was that we had a lot of special projects and extra things that we needed to get done around this district. I don't remember, if people remember what the district was like back in 2011. We forget 12 years goes fast. But there were a tremendous number of things, as there continue to be, that we really wanted to have focus on. And many of those things require outside services if we're gonna do those. And we just decided that if we rolled that into superintendent's performance package, that we could get somebody who really cared about the district and was really looking out for the best needs of the district in the role. And we had tremendous success with those over the years. And I think in your packet, you have all of those performance packages listed that we've done over the years. So, so we went through that, and you have those. And then we went in and discussed Superintendent Matuska's performance package for 23-24. And so that's something that we'll have on the July agenda. I think what would really be beneficial is if we had input from board members on areas they would like to see that focus on. And I have started a list, but if you have some thoughts now, that would be a good time to start those. You can email those to me, and we can go through those. And then at that July board meeting, we can solidify those. But thoughts on that performance pay for 23-24? Ideas for that?
I don't think I was here, but I had emailed in. I think our next goal should be more measurable for outcomes and use more of a SMART format. So it's more of an objective evaluation.
So we talked about that as part of this.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So we will take that into consideration as we move forward with that. So I will share a few of them that thought about and that we can discuss at the time. But I think the first one, and the one that that maybe is a little bit difficult for me to quantify, but is the district needs to determine its AI, artificial intelligence policies and procedures. This will be the year of AI, 2023, and it's changing the way we do things in society. And I think as a district, we need to get our hands around those policies and procedures. You saw Mr. Matuska used ChatGPT, artificial intelligence, to write the poem tonight. And I'll just give a quick example. Personally, so daughter came home, was a senior in high school, had to write this paper. I said, we had talked about ChatGPT, we sat down, she looked at it, she typed in what she wanted into ChatGPT, and it wrote out this incredible paper for her in a matter of seconds. So in less than 2 minutes, she had a paper that should have taken 3 hours probably to put together. And I said, well, I don't think you're going to use that. And I said, I think you're going to have to write your own. And called the son, who was a senior in college, and said, hey, tell me more about this. This is in January, just as things were opening up for ChatGPT. And I said, we have a real problem because it's this artificial intelligence can write papers, it can do the math for kids. It's making entire careers obsolete. And I said, tell me what you think and what you're hearing at college. And he said, well, I said, we have to figure out how to manage this and limit this at school. So do we cut off internet access? What do we do? And he said, why are you fighting it? He said, why are you not using it as a tool like you would a laptop or a phone, an iPhone? He said, they're going to have to figure it out at some point. And it was a complete opposite of where I was going is it's not a tool. It's something that, it's going to, and so I don't know as a district, how we utilize this and make this a great opportunities for students, but somebody's got to get their arms around this, and they've got to get it around fast because it is here, and you can go into just about any or like Panera where you sit down and you watch the people in there. If somebody's got a laptop up, they pretty much got an artificial intelligence like ChatGPT up running. So we've got to make our kids ready for that. So again, don't exactly know what that looks like. I can't necessarily quantify it, but I do believe that it's something that's critical that is outside the scope of anything we've looked at today. But as a district, I think it's something we need to focus on. Go ahead. Somebody has them. Go ahead, Mark.
Would this be something that we maybe want to have a committee, Brian, or make up a committee?
Certainly. So we had, Ashley had brought in some of the top IT folks that had graduated or had connections to Kasson-Mantorville. And I asked, there was a graduate, Ryan Perma, who had started his own cybersecurity company. And I asked him a little bit about it. And he said it's still maturing. He said it's going to be drastically different 3 weeks from now. I said, 3 weeks from now? He said, 3 weeks from now. And you have people like, and I'll get off my soapbox, but like Elon Musk, right? He takes over. For 50 years, we've tried to figure out a viable electric automobile, and who does it? Elon Musk. NASA is out there 50 years. Now he starts SpaceX, and that is what propels us to the International Space Station. He's surpassed NASA, right? And he has his own artificial intelligence. He started ChatGPT, as a matter of fact. So I said, what does he say about it? He said, this innovation in his mind is bigger than the creation of fire and the understanding of fire. That's how big artificial intelligence is. We have to get our arms around it. So I'll get off it. I don't know how to quantify it. I just wanted to put it out there and get people thinking about it. So that was one.
Yeah, I'll just
go ahead.
Well, I'll just kind of touch on that a little bit too. That this could be something that we look back, on that is greater than the computer and the internet and everything else, as we've forever changed our world in the last 25 years. And yeah, I can see Ken's concerns and everything else, and where we go as a district, that's to be determined in how we embrace this, but essentially using it as a tool. But how do you parallel education and essentially standards as far as math and grammar and reading and all of the above with such a tool that the kids will have for the rest of their life, and not knowing what that could potentially be. But yeah, I would be very interested in trying to, obviously, whether it's coming up with a little bit better understanding and policies and how we kind of move forward as a district and embrace such a tool. So,
Okay, so just ideas. Other ideas that I had, well, we have a new entire elementary leadership down there. Ariana leaving, we have a new teaching and learning coordinator down there with Lisa Pierce leaving. So there's certainly gonna need to be some type of mentor, whether it's in-house or external there. And that's certainly a place that we're gonna need to have focus. Ariana leaves a massive void, and it's gonna take more than just put somebody in that position. So, go ahead.
I'm wondering, I completely understand what you're saying, but I'm thinking that there's probably already something in play for that, as, you know, with the new principal, and with the, you know, new leadership team. I'm wondering if we already have all those pieces in place to make sure it's a smooth transition and that they have the appropriate mentorship. I'm not sure what that onboarding process looks like.
Well, the last time we onboarded was Josh, as far as the principal. And since then, we've done a few of the TLCs down in the administrative role. And now we have our first literacy, you know, we've got a literacy professional, we get that for 1 more year. So I don't know what we're going to end up with as performance goals, but I understand what you're saying.
I'd like to kind of piggyback on what Amy was saying and maybe expand that a little bit. So not only this, but I look at, you know, we've been growing some of our own leadership within our campus. And so maybe even taking a succession planning kind of lens to it to understand is how do we grow, you know, the next superintendent in our district? How do we develop continue to develop our staff who have an interest in maybe moving from a teaching role into an administrative role, into a teaching and learning role, so that they have those abilities within the district, so that they're growing and developing here, staying here at Kasson-Mantorville to grow their career, and without having to look outside for other opportunities. So see how we can mentor employees, but also then to think more broadly about how are we building capacity within our staff. Teaching, or even paraprofessional, maybe who decides they want to become a teacher and get their teaching certificate, or something of that nature.
I love that idea, Angie, especially because a lot of the legislation events we went to talked about how there's not teachers in the pipeline to fill voids we have coming up. So I think that will be essential in the future.
Maybe touch on the para to teacher experience as well.
Other thoughts, ideas?
I think some of these, I think we should have more. This year we just had 2. I also would like to see some of these be more focused on student and staff success and tie Mark success back to the overall well-being of the district through student and staff success. I'm not quite sure how it would, I haven't thought about that in a frame of like objective measurements for that, but I think it would be helpful, a measurement of our staff well-being and our student success. There is a wellness, at our wellness committee, there was a survey put out and about how many kids feel safe at school. I forget some of the other questions, but seeing those numbers go up where there's more student satisfaction, having a safe person at school, not getting bullied, those kind of soft skills built in. I like that.
And is this something we can think about? You said, and before
Yeah,
just email
I
you?
think just email me and let me know, and then we can put it together and bring it back and have something, at least some rough guidelines for the meeting, so that we have something we can settle on at that meeting. Fair enough?
think it might be advantageous for the committee to meet prior to, so that if there is some measurement, there's some different types of goals that we can set and establish those and bring some ideas to the entire board.
Yeah, I was thinking about what committee is that? That was where I ran into. Is it finance? Is it personnel? Is it some subset of this? Or that was,
I wonder if it's two committees working together. I wonder if it starts with personnel and then to kind of narrow down the list or, some of those objective measurements. And then we're working with the finance committee as to what percentage and how do we divvy that out per goal and then present it to the board.
okay, so we'll get some combination of personnel and finance.
Everyone's going to be on the move in the next couple of weeks
Yeah, that's.
prior to our July meeting.
Is it August 1st?
That's a deadline.
Okay.
We'll start with personnel then.
Yeah.
I think I heard personnel, then finance, then.
Yeah, okay. So personnel will have to get something scheduled right away, Carlin. Okay, and finance is meeting pretty regularly, so.
So, and Ken, when do you want us to get information to you by then?
The end of the week, please. I did have, and I'll just run through a couple others. We still do have the dirt out, the rock out here for concession stand, bathroom, that we haven't finished at the stadium yet. We could do something around that. Could also do something around, I know looking out a little bit, we have boilers in that middle school that are towards end of life. And I know that for many, many times that when we replace, there's multiple boilers over there. When we replace one, we have to take a functioning one out in order to, because we built the room too small. And so somehow we have to get that reconfigured so we don't have that problem. And that might be a small construction, moving a wall. I don't know what that looks like, but that is another one. And the other one that we hear a lot is that elementary parking lot and reconfiguring that elementary parking lot. It's tough getting in and out of there during the busy time. So at some point, we got to put some time into that. So anyhow, just some ideas. So if you have them, send them. And with that, I will continue. So that's 23-24 performance. Language proposal. We talked a little bit there. Class size renewed for legislative mandates. We have to talk about class size, personnel ratio, student testing. And then the financial percentage allotment based on legislation and where we're at. Again, we know we get a 4-2. What is still a little bit fuzzy, at least in my brain, is I will call it underfunded mandates and the unemployment insurance that districts across the state are grappling with right now. So that's a tough one. Our, just for awareness, our unrealized risk there would be somewhere around $400,000 at this point. So it is something we really have to focus on and take a look at.
Kent, is that $400,000 over 2 years or is that a single?
That's 2 years. It's 200,000. Bob's got it probably better, but $200,000 a year is our potential.
So as Kent has noted there, it depends on how many staff actually choose to pull the trigger on that, but could be up to $400,000 a year. And they basically only have the funding in place for probably about a year. And then after that, from what we've been told, is that it'll be up to the districts to come up with the funding for that.
So this they put aside over the next 2 years, $135 million. But nobody knows how far that's gonna go.
Not gonna go far if we have $400,000 for our district alone.
I think they'll know a lot more this fall. And if there is a big gap between that 135 million that they allotted for the 2 years, if there is a big gap, let's hope that there's some money allotted next year in the legislative session. So they have a pretty good idea of what this summer looks like. So it's interesting for us because if it's short of that 135 million, all of these will be prorated. So, but when's that proration? Will they not do that till after 2 years? When will they start reimbursing the districts? We don't know that. So if they start falling short and the legislature says, okay, 135 million, we had to prorate that. We had 200 million worth of requests in the first year. They're either going to do that or look out local taxpayers because they'll allow us to levy for that additional. So then each district would then levy for any of those costs that they had. So I don't know what the next legislature will do if that 135 doesn't hit the mark. I think when we met as superintendents, it was probably 3 weeks ago, and MDE was at our meeting giving us the breakdown. I asked them, what will it be? And they don't know. And it's hard to believe that they could pass legislation, put $135 million into it for unemployment insurance, which is going to happen, but they don't really know whether or not that 135 will cover it for all the districts. When you start taking a look at it, St. Paul, Minneapolis, Anoka, and some of those districts, if we're looking at 400,000 maximum, I think is what Bob said. If everybody took it, we didn't get any reimbursement from the state, that's about what it would be. So, and I know Bob's come up with that figure a couple times. So I don't know if we're at that size. What in the world is Minneapolis, St. Paul, and some of those other school districts for their non-certified staff that are in a 260-day contract? I think it's going to be a fairly large number, but I'd hate to guess what it's actually going to be. So hopefully this will give the next legislature an opportunity to fund the mandate that says we're going to provide unemployment insurance to all these individuals. So I'm hopeful that happens. I just don't know. I don't think anybody knows what will happen. My biggest fear is what state our budget's in next year as a legislature. So, and I don't know that with ESSER funds running out. I'd be interested to see what the state fund balance is looking like here when we when they come out with their new estimates. So we'll know. It just makes it difficult as you go into a negotiation cycle. That's the toughest piece. If we don't know what will really happen in that second year, even if 135 funds the first year, what's the second year look like? So.
Okay. Anything else on that? Okay. So the other thing was what we'll discuss later, student activities fee increase proposal. So I think that's on the agenda for later. So that is the list of things that we discussed at finance.
I have a question, Kent. Was there a consensus for the 10%
for
the general fund on the agenda?
I don't.
Item 3E3.
We weren't able to get through the full agenda as a 3 committee.
Okay.
Yeah, you had to leave early.
Well, specifically, I left after it was scheduled. It was scheduled for an hour, but there were 10 items, so maybe we should schedule another follow-up. In an hour, we only got to item 2. There was a lot to go over, so maybe just an additional meeting would be helpful.
Yeah, we definitely need a lot more time.
Yeah.
Yep. So, okay. Anything else? Okay. So that was finance, policy, I don't think policy met, student activities, Zed, anything?
Yeah, I have quite a few things. So first, a moment of pride for the KM district as there were lots of hires over at Zed, some for really difficult positions, and one of them being one of KM's grads, Kendra Stenzel. She has been hired on as the full-time speech language pathologist, which I think is amazing. And I commented to the fact that she's a great kid, but she is an adult and she's going to do a wonderful job serving our students. So I'm very excited for that. We did review the budget and there are some changes. And just like what Bob does is that we're very conservative when we estimate our budget. And with the Zed, it gets to be a little bit more tricky because we can't borrow from a bank if we were ever to go into red. And so our fund balance right now is really close to 15%, which is really high, but it's needed for a district like Zed. But that being said, it does look like we will be deficit spending just a little bit. That's without having all of the official numbers in yet. So there's no concern. The implication on the fund balance would be 0.2% at max, so 0.2 of that. So not really a huge concern there. Another thing is just with special education funding, a lot of the, more of the funding is coming from the state unless it's coming from the federal level. So we're seeing a big shift in those dollars and how they're coming in, which is likely going to mean more work for Bob in the future, but Bob is already way ahead of that. Going on with the budgeting, since Heidi, the office or the finance manager for Zed has resigned, we have officially hired on the school management services to take on all of that billing, and so we'll see a change with that. I know a lot of the local districts do that as well, and Zed is not the first education district to do so, so they do have experience. So that made me feel a little bit better, just knowing how tricky all that can be. And other than that, I think they're just, they wrapped up with their graduation. I neglected to comment on it, I think, at the last meeting, but they had their ALC graduation back in May, and it was an awesome experience to be a part of. And one thing that they're discussing for the future is having their own graduation, their own diploma. So it's something if you have strong feelings on. One thing that is coming through, and I will be sending it to Kent, is the education district agreement. That's being rewritten, and along with it, the bylaws, which I'm very happy to hear that. It's a very slow, intentional process. The superintendents have all been working very hard to kind of make it what it is today. So I will send out that red line version to Kent to send to all of you. One thing I want you to note is there is a lot of discussion around whether or not we would ever allow for another district to join, because we know we had lost Pine Island last year. And the language reads that it could be a possibility. However, all of the Zed board members, and from my understanding from those board members with all the superintendents, that is not something we want to seek out. And it is not something that we want to do until that loan is paid off. There's a lot of things then that would have to happen and figure out how much they're going to pay. And unless a district, you know, is coming in with billions of dollars, I just don't see how it would be beneficial at this point. And so we're going to continue to advocate to not have that be something that will be happening. So there might be some more changes in the upcoming agreement. So please send me any thoughts that you have. I think we're going to be discussing it again in August at the Zed meeting, because we'd like to get something finalized and signed in the early fall. And that's all I have for Zed.
Did they show you a draft of the bylaws?
No, but I'm anxiously awaiting for that to hit my email.
Because we haven't seen them.
No, it's made very clear that we need to see them in tandem and before we can approve anything. So, because the agreement is an agreement. The bylaws are what holds it to the agreement. So the bylaws are what allows us to do or not to do things within that agreement. And so we need to have them matched. And The original agreement was September 30th, 1988, and it had not been revised since then. And the bylaws are pretty similarly behind. So we're going to make sure that that is updated prior to any signatures going on the agreement. Thank you for bringing that up, Mark.
Amy, what consensus on their new location, and is it working out? I'm sure new building, right? But how location, I know they're struggling with the
It's
construction, but
the construction was just a minor. They really didn't affect me. They are so happy and excited to be in there. It was so nice to have the graduation in their facility, in their gym. They have had basketball matches in their gym and been invited to other schools. This space, one thing that they talked about at length in the construction process was making sure that the rooms can switch as the needs change or be converted. And we are already having to do that just based on the numbers of the level 4 students that are there and the different types of needs. So it's been well received. They are actually adding FACS classes, like with a licensed certified teacher and things like that to utilize that space. So it's growing, and they are so appreciative of the land and the ability to do that, and the use of the grass area when we needed it. So it's been a really, really good thing for our students.
If I might add to that, and Amy expressed this pretty well about the fact that we don't really want another school district to come in right now. And there's a couple reasons. Number one is all the taxpayers in the existing districts have put out a lot of money to come in, and it's very difficult for a new district to come in to say, okay, you're gonna take this out of your general fund, or you go out and bond for these dollars. So that makes it very difficult. And that was one reason we thought we'd let it run through the 20. The other is, I don't know if, we know they've got a lot of capacity right now, but their capacity is extremely limited by the inability to hire staff. So they're having some real difficult times trying to get enough staff in so that they can handle all of the students that we currently have in the districts that are part of the program now. So if they can start hiring some of that staffing, that'll increase that stability. I'm happy to report that Patrick has agreed. He's going to start in his monthly or bi-monthly report, start telling us a little bit about what that capacity is. So if the middle school program is full, is it full because the space is limiting, or is it full because they can't hire anybody to fill that position? And right now, it's not space in any position. It's all about hiring staff. They are so short staff over there that they can't provide a lot of the services that the districts really want them to, or they have additional students that could be providing it. So thanks for the board members expressing less interest in having a new school join, unless they do come with a big pile of cash.
Has there been any work around other districts, member districts being able to rent or utilize that facilities?
They are currently working on that, and that should be ready to go for this fall as well, and what spaces they want to be able to rent out and which they wouldn't. And just with discussion with some of the other board members, for some of the things, such as track and field day, a science fair, all of that, they don't want to have that all housed there because the home districts like to highlight their district as well for their students. And so that's one thing. But then for sports and other activities, it would be very beneficial to our district, but may not be as beneficial to some other districts. And so they're just trying to figure out, how is that process going to look to even sign up for that kind of thing or to rent it out. So, and with the custodial staff, their staff is even more limited. So is it going to be, do you need to provide your own, or do they pay from theirs? And there was a little bit of a joke about they can just borrow KM's custodial staff, and I just had said, I think we keep them busy enough on our space, so I don't know that that would be very beneficial.
anything else for Amy? Thank you, Amy. Community education, anything from community? Okay. And legislative, anything legislative?
Just had one thing, the first of next month, I will be starting on the executive board for C. So I'm excited. We're gonna, in the process, I think we're gonna revamp the whole organization. It's gonna be exciting to see what happens, so.
I'm just gonna clarify, is that the Schools for Equity and Education? Okay. Awesome.
Okay. So that's it for committee reports. On to 3.4, Superintendent Matuska's communication. Superintendent Matuska.
The first thing is Minnesota State High School League video that has one of our high-profile athletes, student athletes from Kasson-Mantorville in it as well. So Carlin, go ahead and let's watch it.
It's all about sportsmanship, right? Coaches coach, officials officiate, our players play, and our fans cheer. That is the partnership that we're looking forward to. It's all around safety, it's all around sportsmanship, and it's all around having a great time in our facilities.
The Minnesota State High School League is a dynamic partnership of more than 600 schools, reaching all communities and corners of the state. Our mission is to provide educational opportunities in fine arts and athletics for all students. Everything we do is focused on supporting, growing, and improving our students' experiences through activities. As we move into a new school year, our ongoing work is focused on three main efforts. Our top priority is to promote and support safe, respectful, and inclusive environments for participation and competition. We want all of our high schools to provide activities and events that are free from discrimination, harassment, and marginalization. That's why the Minnesota State High School League recently led a collaborative effort of 7 educational organizations across the state. Together We Make a Difference was designed to amplify the voices and advance the vision of our students to ensure respectful and safe schools and environments.
After attending the conference, I really hope that as a small school, we're more inclusive and we include everybody, and that everybody gets to be involved and find what they enjoy. The code of conduct was basically treating everybody with respect, the same respect you want to receive. Being kind, not like being rude to somebody because they are not from the same background as you, like ethnics, religion, being inclusive.
It's important to feel safe because within that you're able to perform the way you want to and you're able to give the results you want to. In my personal opinion, when I'm not comfortable, I'm not giving all I can.
Playing in an environment where like you feel comfortable, you feel safe, you're going to be playing at your best because you don't have to worry about other distractions.
It takes a team of dedicated adults to provide the kind of programming our students deserve. That's why we're focused on recruiting, retaining, and supporting our coaches, officials, and administrators.
As an education-based activities director, there's nobody more important than a coach or advisor for our students, whether it's in the fine arts or athletics, because we know that each child is one caring adult away from changing their path of their life.
If you look at or listen to any successful person talk about how they got there, they never did it alone. There's always a mentor. And so we need those types of leaders in our schools today to help our young people understand what it means to be a strong, supportive person within their community.
I enjoy officiating for the people that I work with. The camaraderie with them is the thing that makes it enjoyable. There's coaches that make it enjoyable. There are students that make it enjoyable. We're somebody to help make the game better. We're there to make the athletic contest better.
We're always looking for new officials. I think just from gaining awareness and visibility on the role of officiating and how important it is. So definitely I encourage anybody that is interested in officiating to reach out, and we have a lot of resources and a team to help out.
Sometimes the most enduring lessons our students learn happen through activities beyond the classroom. So it's our goal to focus on enhancing the education of students through a broad range of opportunities that extend the traditional curriculum.
When alumni come and talk to me, the one thing I always hear is, they remember those big moments, but they also remember what led up to them. Everything that they've done to prepare and how those coaches and those experiences have helped prepare them.
These events and experiences will stay with our students for their entire life. The relationships that they build in these extracurricular arts and athletic activities, the competition, the sportsmanship that they learn, all of these things will help them be successful citizens, help them be successful employees, business owners, and just positive contributing members to society.
At the Minnesota State High School League, it's about more than membership. It's about partnership. Because when our member schools commit to common principles and expectations, we all share the responsibility to provide safe, respectful, and inclusive activities for all of our students.
To do our best for student athletes and participants, we need to be good partners to one another and collaborate with other schools and the Minnesota State High School League.
As school districts, we know our students best. We know our families and communities and caregivers best. And to partner with the State High School League is really to work collectively to make sure that everyone participating in these wonderful events has a safe, welcoming environment where they can thrive and be successful.
I'm just super excited about where we are and also where we can go and continue to have these conversations to provide great high school experiences for kids. Nothing is more important than the well-being of our students, and participation in activities is a great way to enhance our students' overall health.
I think it's really, really important that every high school student finds something to be involved in. Finding some way to get involved in your school and in your community is so important. It not only positively benefits your mental health, but helps you improve as a person, helps you grow, helps you make connections with other people.
These activities have helped shape who I am because it makes me understand the importance of being in something, and it has helped me for the future because these activities help you gain skills such as time management and communication.
Giving students these valuable opportunities is the mission of the Minnesota State High School League. And looking around the state this year, we've seen high participation numbers, packed venues, and enthusiastic support from school communities. And together, we have a bright future ahead. On behalf of the Minnesota State High School League, I want to thank everyone in all of our member schools for your continued active support, because it's about more than membership, it's about partnership.
It was kind of nice to see a Kasson-Mantorville student involved in that. That was the first thing. We'll be acting a little bit later on a State High School League item as well. A couple other things, the Zed Summer Academy, Becky Fremmel sent me an email thanking Kasson-Mantorville for again hosting the Zed Summer Academy this year. They had 140 students, 17 teachers, and 13 student helpers. A variety of exciting and challenging classes again this year. When I stopped in the rooms, the kids were so engaged and really enjoying the activities the teachers had prepared for the week. The KM middle school staff welcomed us and were ready to assist in whatever way was needed. Mr. Larson greeted us and was available all week if his assistance was needed. That is always greatly appreciated. Chris had all of our tech needs ready on day one and then was available whenever questions came up. I was very pleased to have him ready and willing to help when needed. Sally is one of the best office people I work with in our district. She greeted me each day with a smile and checked to see if there was anything I needed. If I did, she willingly helped me out. She's an asset to your district. The custodial staff were also helpful and made sure our needs were met. You have an excellent staff, and I appreciate each and every one of them and what they're willing to do for kids. The success of any program is a willingness of everyone to work together to make it run smoothly. That happened for the Zed Summer Academy this week at the middle school. Thanks for your support of our gifted, talented programs where we can offer wonderful opportunities for kids. And for her to take out the time and mention that to all the staff that we had, I thought that was fantastic. So kudos to the middle school and all the teachers that were over there, and Sally and Josh. So the other thing is we got a letter back in May from the United States Department of Education. We had a complaint from someone, we don't know who because they didn't identify it, related to the elementary school playground. So they're looking for an accessible path from the edge of the play area to accessible play equipment. They're looking for a compliant ground surface material within the perimeter of the playground area. and the minimum number and type of ground level play components on accessible path. So we've had this discussion a little bit before, and JJ, and I think some of you remember Angie Radel from IEA, that's who we contract with. They allow us to use those wood chips. They go out and maintain that throughout the year, and those are what we have. Well, the complaint says that they'd like to see us go to a different product so that there's a little better ease getting to some of the accessible equipment that's on that playground. So Bob got our insurance company involved. They're providing us some guidance right now, and we've sent them pictures. We actually had some people take some overhead pictures so they can see how we get access from the building to the playground, what the wood chips look like on their way to some of these accessible pieces. And we're going to get that. We've sent it all to them, I think July 5th. Is that the right date? July 5th is the end date, so they're going to, all that information will be to them. And then the Department of Education will be coming out to visit Kasson-Mantorville out from, well, this note came from Chicago, and they're going to take a look at what we actually have. And then together, hopefully we can come up with a plan that says, all right, if the wood chips aren't sufficing, if we need to maintain them more often, or if we need to spend some money to go to a different surface so that those, they're more accessible, then that's the direction we have to go. You take a look at the regs, and wood chips are an acceptable one, but sometimes, a wheelchair with a student trying to get to some of those, that's a real difficult task for either the student or the adult that's trying to move them through. So whatever we do, we want to make it right. They're coming out, and we can't talk to the Department of Education, or once our attorney from the insurance got involved and started offering guidance, those two talk together all the time. So when their visit will be coming, when I originally talked to them, they said they were going to come out at the end of July, early August, and I don't have any reason to believe that time frame won't stay there, but I thought I'd let you know that that's something they're looking at. So, in your packets, and you can put this up too, Carlin. I know in your packets, I put this little form right here. This was brought up at, I think, one of our last finance meetings, maybe even a couple times ago, either that or a personnel meeting. We talked a little bit about the turnover that we have in our teaching staff. So I said, Bob, Carlin, let's go back a few years, and they put this back together. So Carlin put this up there. So in 13-14, we had 8 new staff members. These are just certified teachers. You get to 14-15, we were at 11, and these are all kind of neat to see what the classes were that came in. 15-16, we had 8, 16-17, we had 10, and then things started changing a little bit. 17-18, we had 15, and 18-19, so this is pre-COVID, we had 21 that year. 19-20, we were at 20. 2021, we were at 11. That was, right in the heart of that, right after the COVID year. 21-22, we had 18, and then last year we had 22, and so far this year we're sitting at 19. So pretty similar results here for the last, 3 to 4 areas. We talked a little bit about this at a superintendent's meeting, probably back in April and May, and people were talking about the number of staff that are leaving and the number of staff that they have to hire, and it's happening all over the place. And I think we even talked about it at our finance meeting the other day. Brandon started bringing up it's not just education right now that's really hurting to try to find staff or keep staff on. And he talked about some of the nursing. I don't know if you want to touch on that at all now or not.
Oh, well, yeah, no, it's something definitely we see in the hospital setting and stuff as well, and even within my own department, just even within the ICU nurses and stuff, being probably about 250 or so nurses. We have some pretty good turnover every year, and I know the tenure is now just over a year versus, what it was not too long ago. But it's everywhere.
So that was I thought I put together, you could take a look at that just to see what kind of turnover we're seeing on an annual basis. That's something we really like to see reduced. And what we can do to make that happen is something that we should certainly start taking a look at. That is all I had for the superintendent's communications.
Anything for Superintendent Tuesday? Okay, then we'll move on to public input. I didn't receive anything. Okay, and we're on to consent agenda. So you have the consent agenda in front of you. You have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Thanks, Angie. In a second. Thanks, Brandon. Any discussion on anything in the consent agenda anybody like to talk about?
Let's take a moment to recognize Lori Pagel for her retirement. I don't recall the number of years she's taught in the district, but I certainly remember her coming in to even talk about the summer programs that she and students were a part of. And I just wish her well in her next adventure in life.
Very good. Thank you, Angie. Anything else? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And we're on to action items. There are no old action items. New action item 6.2.1. Approve the fiscal year 23 revised budget for fiscal year 23-24. Proposed budget. Mr. Haas has the floor. I think.
So as kind of Amy said, with the Z budget, there was a little difficulty getting things finalized with their budget just due to the fact of some unknown things through MDE. We've noticed kind of the same thing with the district budget as well. In fact, I just got an email today from MDE stating that some of their projections are going to be coming out sometime before the 15th of July. So it's been a little challenging putting the budget together. I think you've all had a chance to kind of look through. We did sit down and went through the budget last Friday with the finance committee. I'm just going to turn to page 2. I just had a few notes there of some highlights and just kind of go through a few things with you. On the enrollment projection for coming into 24, we're looking at being down approximately 30 students. And that's primarily due to we're graduating larger classes than we're bringing in kindergarten in the following years then. So that 30,000 times roughly $7,000 a kid, that's about a $210,000 hit to the budget right there. It's just something to kind of keep in mind. Bullet number, go ahead.
We talked a little bit at finance, and I asked you if other schools were seeing similar numbers, and
yeah,
your response.
It's pretty much kindergarten seems to be small across the state. There's just fewer kindergartners, so it's not just unique to Kasson-Mantorville. I think you had said that Byron is seeing one of their smallest kindergarten classes
Smaller than historically.
Yeah, so it's not just unique to us. As part of the legislation, this past legislative session, the state did increase the gen ed formula by 4%, 2% the following year for FY25. They also increased the state or the cross subsidy on the special ed formula as well. So we'll see a little bit of a bump in revenues that way as well. 77% of our budget is wage and benefits for the staff within the district. So the supplies and what have you, it's a relatively small piece of the budget when you stop and look through. You have a question?
Yeah, I have a question, Bob. Has that been consistent, like over the past few years, 5 to 10 years?
The 77%, yep, it's remained fairly constant. It's usually around 75 to 80%, I would say. And then, excuse me, on bullet number 5, probably the biggest unknown is the unemployment impact. When we drew up the budget for '24, we did include $200,000 worth of expenses for unemployment. Not knowing for sure what that true impact will be. We're still kind of waiting to see how many people actually do file claims. So we've got some set aside as for an expense. Not exactly sure when that reimbursement will be coming through. One of the webinars that I did sit in on in early June, they did make comment that they might wait until the fiscal year is over before they start reimbursing districts for the expenses that they're incurring, just because they don't know if the 135 million will be enough to cover everything. They don't want to send money out and then end up being short, and so then they may end up waiting to see if they need to prorate.
So Bob, you're saying the districts will fund that until they would receive some kind of back payment?
Yeah. And again, that's one of these things that MDE is still working on. They're trying to get their hands around it as well. There's actually 2 different state departments that are dealing with this. You've got the Department of Labor, which is handling all the unemployment claims, but then the money is resting with MDE for them to divvy it out. So it's going to be an interesting situation that we're going to be dealing with, I think, over the next couple of years. FY24 marks the end of most of our COVID money. Basically, the only things that we have left, a couple of years ago, we added an additional counselor here at the high school. That position is being paid through the end of this coming year with some COVID dollars, as is our reading specialist at the elementary school. They both have 1 more year of funding. And then the other big legislative change occurred in the food service area. The state of Minnesota is going to provide each child a free breakfast and a free lunch. However, as I make note there, not all food is free. So in order for the district to be able to claim the food expense, the child has to eat a complete meal. So for example, if your child comes to school with their own lunch and they would like a milk to have with their lunch from home, they'll be charged the a la carte price for that milk. And then if a student goes through the lunch line and only takes one component of the meal, they'll be charged the a la carte price for that item as well. Do you have a question?
Yeah, it's making me think about an enormous amount of food waste.
Yep.
Because students are smart.
Yep.
And they'll take a full meal, grab the meal, and then they'll dump the rest of their
Correct.
tray. And is there a way for us to be able to take whole fresh fruit and be able to clean it and reuse it again? I know there are food products about that, but that would be equipment costs that the district will have to look into. Huge component and for families that are starting. Really unfortunate.
Yep, it is. It's going to be an interesting situation to be in. And then the other thing too is it'll be interesting to see if the state has allocated enough funds to be able to cover the increased participation. That's my fear, is that they don't have enough money set aside, and then all of a sudden they're going to get to the end of the year and say, well, guess what? We're going to prorate this too. So we'll see.
I'm worried about the communication to the parents too, because that's kind of confusing that a milk would be a cost and a whole meal wouldn't. Well, right, yeah. Yeah, but for like elementary, who wouldn't understand that if they started getting milks and then the parents were like, where is this coming from? It would be a lot.
We intend to put some communication like in the comment report, trying to get some of the message out there anyway. And I know that Vicki Kroll, the Tahoe manager, has said that she'll have staff, especially at the elementary school, to visit with parents about and try to explain that as well as parents are coming up to make some payments for their kids are still going to need to have having a lunch account. So as you looked through the budget, I don't want to necessarily have to go through and read a bunch of numbers to you. I don't know if someone has specific questions that I can answer.
I know I emailed you today. Can you just remind me what our fund balance is?
Sure. So with the revised budget, I'm anticipating that our fund balance is going to grow by approximately $24,000 at the end of 24, or excuse me, at the end of 23. And then for the end of 24, it'll be just under 118,000. So if everything holds true to what we've got proposed, our fund balance will be at 1.6 million at the end of 24, which is about 6%. A little over just about 6.5%.
It's our board policy that says what?
Strive to 10.
Strive to be 10%.
Any other questions for Mr. Haas on the revised budget for fiscal year 23-24? Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the fiscal year 23 revised budget for fiscal 23-24 proposed budget?
Move to approve.
Thanks, Brandon. A second? Thanks, Mark. Any other discussion on that?
Special thanks to Bob for putting this together, and the last 2 or 3 years have been a little difficult with our ESSER funding, and there's a whole new stream. If you do take a look on that, one of those last pages, you'll see that the federal aids and grants drops from $575,000 for our district to $225,000. So it's a pretty significant drop and we think it's significant here. I cannot even imagine in some of the federal, we didn't really qualify for a lot, but some of those districts really did. We'll have to wait and see how they do in 24, 25.
Was this like to say thanks, Bob, also for kindly and patiently answering questions, as I'm sure multiple of us board members were asking questions over the last few days and the weekend, and so thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approval of the budget, state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And we're on 6.2.2, resolution clarifying the population estimate for 2023 payable 2024 levy for the Independent School District 204.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Angie. A second. Thank you, Brandon. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor of the resolution certifying the population estimate for 23 payable 24 levy for the school district, say aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. And we're on 6.2.3, approve the long-term facilities management 10-year plan. There you have links to the revenue and expenditures. Anything for us on it? Anything to talk about?
Just briefly, this is something that we do on an annual basis just to be able to qualify for the revenue that we utilize to maintain our facilities. I think it's pretty standard from what you've seen in the past. If you look out to the 10th year, you'll notice that there are some pretty big things coming up eventually, a lot of things with the heating systems in all the buildings. So we'll be needing to probably take a look at possibly or potentially doing some type of bonding maybe in the future for those projects, since it's probably much more than what we can generate on an annual basis to be able to afford. Maybe just one other thing. One thing that we noticed last summer, after the levy had gone through, is we noticed that we didn't have all of the outbuildings, like all the different little storage sheds on the list. And so we contacted the person that was in charge of this program, and she said, just send me the information and we'll get it updated. So if you happen to look at last year's program, you'll notice that the average age of our facilities didn't roll up completely to another year. So just because we added all these little things, so hopefully it'll give us a little bit more aid going forward.
What is the average age it needs to be for us to really unlock substantially more aid? We're at 25.
I think I think under this program, I think you max out at when the buildings hit 35. So we've got 10 years worth of growth to experience that. So.
Or we just need a really old building that we can buy for $1.
Okay, anything else? So do we have a motion to approve the long-term facilities management 10-year plan?
Move to approve.
Thank you, Brandon. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Kate. Anything else on that?
No, thank you, Bob, for highlighting the 10-year out. As I looked through it, I saw that as well. There's some significant dollars that this district needs to be planning for. And that is going to very likely require us to have a conversation with our community in order to keep our facilities operating.
Well, taking on to that, Ken brought it up earlier about the middle school boilers and their life expectancy coming to an end and how that room needs to get reconfigured in order to even to start addressing that. And I guess that would just bullet into the significance of a project like that. Because without that foresight or insight into what it's truly going to take, we will come into that situation blind.
If you take a look at last year's LTFM, we didn't know that until we really did this HVAC study.
Right.
So that really helped us
Identify that.
Well, it'll allow us to maybe try to spread some of those dollars out over a few more years and try to spread out some of those costs so we don't see that single year that just hammers us. Because it's coming.
No, this funding source and everything else has just been a blessing for this district, and well, maybe all districts across the state. But what we've been able to accomplish and fix, from a mechanical standpoint, from parking lots and everything else, and keep up with to try and maintain all of this, it would just pile up. It would get out of capital. And it would just get piled up until it got too big, which it did over 10 years ago. And that's why we ended up going out for a bond at that time. And this came in right after that as well. So, but this is going to be a wonderful funding source, to be able to maintain the buildings to where we have been. So it's just a great thing, especially when, boilers, they don't last forever, but we'll easily drop, pretty good $1.5 million here in the high school. We'll drop another $2.5 million over at the middle school, all in a short period of time. Can't make that up out of a general fund. So.
Thank you, everyone. Anything else? Okay, so we have a motion and a second. So all those in favor of the long-term facilities maintenance 10-year plan, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And we're on 6.2.4, 23, 24, 24, 25 accounts payable student services contract. Do we have a motion to approve that contract?
So moved.
Thank you, Amy. In a second.
Second.
Thank you, Angie. Any discussion on that contract? Give that linked.
This contract, remember, we filled the first year, Courtney came in, we prorated the first year and didn't set the next 2 years, so that this is, the salary was the only change for the 24, 25, 25, 26 school year. Excuse me, yes. 24.
I have a question. Is that how we're doing the other two contracts too, where it says to be determined? Is this how that one?
The TLCs.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly the same.
Okay, any other questions? So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approval of the 23-24, 24-25 accounts payable services contract, state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. 6.2.5, approve the 23-24, 24-25, 25-26 activities director contract. We have a motion to do that.
So moved.
Thank you, Amy. And a second.
I'll second. I'll beat you.
Thank you, Kate. Any questions on that contract? Anything? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of the 23-24, 24-25, 25-26 activities director contract state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. We're on to 6.2.6, approve the 23-24, 24-25, 25-26 high school teaching and learning coordinator contract, that first one. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Angie, in a second. Thank you, Patrick. I just want to make sure I have that right, who it was. Okay. Any questions on that? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of the 23-24, 24-25, 25-26 high school teaching and learning coordinator on 6.2.6, state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. So we're on to 6.2.7, approve the 23-24, 24-25, 25-26 elementary teaching and learning coordinator contract. We have that motion. Thank you, Patrick. In a second.
Second.
Thank you, Angie. Any discussion on that contract?
I have a question. Can we clarify, did, how that position closed before interviews on the listed? How does that work in a timeline for hiring?
How the position closed before the timeline?
Yeah, I think the person was announced before the timeline for the interviews.
Well, before the deadline for applications.
No, I think it was, a deadline was like the 21st of June, and interviews, it said, would be June 27th or something, but somebody was announced before that. Can you just explain how that?
If there's a, I think what happened was we took a look at the candidates that we had available, which ones had the, were either in an administrative program or had an administrative degree. You sort through the candidates, you see which candidates you are willing to interview and hire, and I think they had one person that they were interested in, and that was it. So that person received the position. And we knew a lot about that person already because they'd already served as a literacy professional. So I think between Ashley and Courtney, I think they were extremely excited with the fact, number one, that Jessica was willing to go get her administrative degree. So that was a big change. We'd interviewed her before for a TLC position at the high school, so everybody on the team was pretty familiar with her. So, but I thought that was a great hire, and somebody that I think we talked about it earlier, building your own or growing your own. What a great opportunity for her, and we're excited about it.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. So those in favor of the approval of 23-24, 24-25, 25-26 elementary teaching and learning coordinator contract, state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. And we're on 6.2.8, approve the 23-24-24-25-25-26 Director of Student and Staff Support Systems. Thank you, Brandon, and a second. Thank you, Mark. Any discussion on that position?
I just have some questions and concerns. It's not that it's about the job that Ashley Kaplan does. I think she does an amazing job. But just knowing where we're at financially, and we're going to be coming into a lot of the jobs in the job description, I think we're somewhat already under her umbrella. And so I'm just wondering how that would change. And for example, for the title, is that then going to take the title person completely out of that grant writing, or are they going to still maintain some of that as well? And what were those conversations like with the individuals involved? You know, I know for ADSYS too, I know that's a collaboration between the ADSYS teachers, the principals, the TLCs and stuff. So I'm just wondering, how does that all shake out? And what percentage of that is an increase to warrant the $31,500 increase in job salary?
That's a great question, Amy, and we've got our teaching or our director with us today. Why don't we bring her on up and you can ask her any question you like to. So why don't you come on up?
Yeah, thank you for joining.
Yeah. So specifically on the ADSYS grant writing, is that your, and want to break it down for me a little bit? There's a lot of questions.
The roles with, yes, the roles
Sure.
with title, and what percentage of that title work are you going to be taking over? And has that been discussed with that title teacher? Same with ADSYS.
Sure.
The Perkins, all of that's already been somewhat on your plate.
Sure.
And how it will be different on your plate.
So right now I don't have anything to do with title. That is between the elementary principal. Ariana's been doing some of that work, and then Janice Southwick is the coordinator. So we're really looking to take some of that off of Janice's plate. There's a training that she does with some of that piece that I would then attend instead of her. She continues to have her coordinator stipend is still for her. But I would be taking over like the grant writing piece for that. So that's coming off the elementary principal's plate.
And has this all been discussed as, I'm so sorry to interrupt, as like, that is something that I want taken off my plate? That's too much, okay.
Yep. As far as the ADSYS grant rating also, that's something that I'm already doing. It'd be taking over from the TLCs and just kind of shifting that piece over to my role as far as meeting with those teachers weekly, doing the data points. We have a lot more work now with our intervention programs with EduClimber, which is our new data warehouse system. So it's managing that. That's kind of a new system for us that hasn't been that before. Now that we have new capabilities within EduClimber, I would say the workload has increased, which is great because I think we're using data a lot more. It's just a new system for us. So that has been a lot of training and work that I've done that I don't think a previous director has done just because the program is new.
And the Perkins, how will that change?
Yeah, so right now Aaron Davis is our Perkins coordinator and he just does all of that. There's no stipend for him. So that would be me taking something off a teacher's plate, okay, and getting to coordinate with SSC and Jamie Stricker on that Perkins piece to make sure that we're using the dollars. It does take a lot of time to figure out what we can use those for. And I think if you've got someone who's dedicated to doing that and not having to teach, you know, there's just flexibility for me to look for ways to use those dollars that maybe aren't necessarily explored right now when someone is so busy in the classroom. So
absolutely
there's flexibility there.
And then with the Strengths Finder, I'm just, my impression, and I might not be understanding this correctly, is that it's not being utilized at the middle school as the staff has kind of thought that, you know, we've gotten our trainings. So how involved do you think that Strengths Finder is going to be?
Yeah, that was, to me, that's the biggest piece. That's the biggest jump of this new position. So right now, Bethany von Steinbergs does the onboarding with our new staff every year at new staff orientation, which is, you know, a 4-hour presentation. But in addition, she does one-on-one meetings with all of our new certified staff. So you meet with that staff for an hour one-on-one, and then you put together their teach back, and then you go and do the teach back.
And so I've had some practice with that this spring, and I would say that's, 5 to 6 hours per person, and with 20 teachers being onboarded, that's gonna add 3 additional weeks to my duties that I didn't have
Absolutely.
before. So that to me is one of the biggest changes in places where I would be spending time that I don't currently spend time doing. So that's a large component of it.
Thank you.
Yep.
And am I correct that we are no longer contracting with Bethany then in place?
That's
is this
correct,
kind of
yes.
leading into a question, but making sure that I'm
She
yes.
has trained us in, and we are ready to take off and do the work and try to live up to the Bethany standard. But we had a lot of training within that last year. Last summer, I became strength certified communications trainer, and we did some training with Bethany for our team. 10 hours of training with her throughout the year, so I think we feel really ready to take that piece over.
And I think that even goes to my comments earlier about building our own capacity within the district, right? And not having to, be able to have our staff here exercise that instead of having to contract with an outside vendor or outside agency.
Yeah, something else we wanted to speak to that we're doing this summer is a future administrator book study. So we are really trying to build the capacity of current teachers. We have about, I think it's maybe 8, I'd have to check. Not everybody can come to everyone, summer, but I think we have 8 teachers signed up. And so it gave us a great opportunity to see who is even interested in it. Sometimes people aren't speaking to that if you don't kind of tap them around and say, we have this way to support you and to build capacity within the district. So we do have teachers that are engaged in that book study this summer. And so just having Jessica move into that new role, we see that we are building that team already. So that's been really exciting.
Oh, I was just gonna ask if somebody knows what the previous contract with Bethany, and what does the district save by having it internal?
I've got, Bethany came to us back in 1920, and that year her salary was $48,776. The year after that, it stayed the same, $48,700. And then 2 years ago, we dropped some of it down to $39,427, and last year was $35,000. And her salary is taken out of the staff development funds. So, which is where a portion of the salary would be also taken out of the staff development funds.
To transition over from there.
Correct. So there were 35, 48, 38, 39, and 35. That were her last 4 years. So with her out her there,
Right.
there's a.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This next question isn't for you necessarily, but just as a board member and how we create. So if we're voting on a contract, but we haven't actually voted on the new position title or the job description that goes along with it, how does that work? Because school boards are supposed to approve any new job title with just job description. And then we haven't done that yet, but we're going to be voting on a contract that's for this job title and job description. Is there any concern there?
Is it our responsibility to dictate positions in schools?
Yes, if it's a new position with a new job description, yes.
Say that again for me, Amy.
So the creation of a job title with the job, just change in the job description like that, or a new job description, it has to go through board approval. I just remember it had happened once in the past and I didn't think of it. And then I had the question after talking with MSBA, it was told that, which at the time it was all said and done. So there wasn't anything that could be done, but it is, you have to approve the job and the title and the description that comes along with it. So I'm wondering how to approve a contract if we haven't done that step yet.
I think that's something we could certainly review. If that indeed is the case, I mean, the new position would be starting in July. So I would have Ashley in that position in July. And if indeed we needed to vote on that, then I could check with MSBA. I have never heard of anything like that before, but you sound very firm and that it needs to happen. I know we've done it on a number of occasions prior to this, and that we've and I think of Kelly Braun, actually, that we've changed her title and approved her position. If it satisfies the board, we could right now change the title of her position back to her old title and just make this her job description with the old job title, if that's fine.
I'm hesitant to do that just because the dollar amount that's in the contract.
The dollar figure is why you hesitate?
In terms of the increase
Yes.
or the rate listed in the job description?
The whole contract, what comes with the contract, how much it's gonna cost. With the whole job description. I would rather have the job description done and then the contract that goes along with that. I'm just looking in my emails right now. I'm not finding anything, but I'm happy to connect with MSBA.
Did you contact MSBA before today and not bring that to our attention?
When the last time it came up, yes, I did, and that's what I was told. So they had said that I had voted, and so there was, nothing that could be done because it had been voted and passed. And I didn't think about it until today, and I haven't heard back from Terry today.
I guess I read through these documents earlier, the contract and things like that, and I guess as long as there's no problem amongst other board members, I'm comfortable proceeding.
Is there any reason why the position couldn't start in August after our July board meeting? To allow for time to check with MSBA?
It's the will of the board. Is there a motion and a second on the table?
I guess that it's a 260-day contract that's currently before us. So if we waited another month, we wouldn't be able to execute the contract, would we? Because 260 days is with your position, isn't it? Because our other administrative members, like our principals, are mostly like 215, 225, something like that.
225.
So I don't have concern with that position or the fact that it's something that is now 260 days versus what the previous was in the job description that is included, that including the salary. But it's up to the will of the board.
And this was added through our finance committee.
It was, yes.
But there's been other recent positions and everything else with the district that have title changes, roles change, and we've never, that I'm aware of, gone through each and every one of them to approve beforehand, before then finalizing a contract.
And that's why I had asked back the last time that I came up.
But we've approved many of them over the last few years, but I think you're referring to something further back.
That's what I'm referring to is when we changed the title and description for the communications director.
The current one or the previous one?
Well, when we changed the position to become a communications director, that's the one when it should have been looked at. Because that's when we changed the description or the responsibilities in the title.
I believe when we changed all of our TLCs, we also went from a TOSA to
But the job description itself didn't change.
The job description did change for us.
and the title did too, because they went from coaches to coordinators.
And that's something that I missed completely.
But from a financial piece, if this is being covered by professional development, where it's a net savings to the district through the professional development fund. See any concerns on it?
I think if there's hesitation, I don't see why not postpone it. And is there any way in the contract we could just prorate it like the other contract that we approved?
You can back pay.
Right, so is there any reason why we couldn't just postpone it and check in with MSBA and just do it however they suggest? And if we have been doing it wrong, then it would be a good opportunity to correct.
Do you have the copy of the email where they suggest that?
My email doesn't go back that far.
I think it's up to the board.
Again, to me, we made a commitment here to Ashley in this position. And I don't see, based on the title change, a reason to not fulfill that. That's my take on it. But we can go around the table and everybody can give their input, and then we can vote on it. So we have a motion and a second on the table.
Yeah, I'm not recalling different situations that come up where we have had to look through the job descriptions. I mean, as a board, we stay at the 20,000 foot level, right? And so we don't get into the granular details oftentimes outside of our one employee, which is Superintendent Matuska. And so, you know, these contracts are negotiated between done between Superintendent Matuska and the rest of the staff. And so, again, I don't recall situations where we've had to delay or go through job descriptions in extensive detail prior to approval of them. So I'm excited for Ashley to get started in this next step, and I think July could be a pivotal month of that work, right, as we prepare for the new school year.
Like we're preparing we prepare for onboarding new teachers. We do a lot of planning in our summer. Now with the strengths component as well, there will be a shift in the time that I'm doing some of my reporting will now be moved into the July month so that I can have those strengths conversations and feedbacks during the school year when I would usually be doing those reports in the fall. So there has been a plan to kind of use the time differently. So July would be an important month to have those 4 weeks of work for the position the way that it's written.
And I completely appreciate that. I would have liked to have seen the job description sooner, probably, just so we could have looked into this.
I think too, not every district does just with the superintendent negotiating the at-will contracts like they do. Other ones do include board members, but I do have concerns about managing our finances. And it sounds like some of the things are already being done by different individuals within the district. So we're adding an increase of pay to transfer those things that could be currently being done. We're not taking away from pay by any means. And then I do wonder about, I think the strengths thing is great, but to continue at the level we're doing, I wonder if, since the majority of the staff is already put through that kind of benefit, if that's something that can be done. I know in other professions, I've done them in more of like a group setting where the new hires are together and they all take the test at one time and discussed with amongst themselves. And then the teams they go to are just, that information is just shared with them. So it's not maybe as intense or doesn't take as much time, but in a year of negotiations and with the financial outlook, I think it's important for the board.
This increase in everything comes with a multitude of additional responsibilities within the district, in evaluation of other administrators within the district. And just looking over it and everything else, it seems like the major concern and everything else is the financial component of this and not so much the duties and what the overall position is. But I know we just approved 4 additional at-will contracts and stuff without a hesitance of what the financial contributor,
cost to the district was.
Those were established positions already where it was well known what the work is and it was all clearly laid out. So those were established positions that had been, we've had ample time to ask those questions, and this is a brand new position with a pretty big pay increase, which I can appreciate, absolutely. I'm just a little hesitant.
So just two things. One, just to be clear, that $31,000 increase comes from professional development, not the general fund.
Not 100%. Is that 100%?
Bethany was 35,000. The increase in this is 31,500.
Was that budgeted for in that meeting, the professional development meeting in May?
Yes, but things have also changed since then. There's other components that will be presented to the board in the fall, but yes, the salary was in the TLC budget comes out of there. We just kind of put a large sum, and then I talked with Bob about kind of what needs to shift between now and then when we have new curriculum writing added. We have some changes since then. We have new people moving into new positions, so we start adding days of curriculum writing. So it's all very fluid until we get to that place in August where we know who our new staff are, who's getting onboarded in curriculum. There's quite a large sum going towards curriculum writing with new people in new positions and new staff getting onboarded. And that's something we didn't used to pay teachers for when they're coming in new to get that curriculum onboarding. So that's something we've added, as well as adding the professional growth academy pay for teachers. That's a new piece. So there's a lot of new dollars going to teachers, but yes, we did kind of plan a sum. And again, with the TLC, there's a portion of their salaries that come out of there too, as you saw in that when you attended that staff development meeting. But so there's been some shifts in a few things, and I keep our staff development reps at each building updated. We meet regularly and through August and sending them things throughout the summer too, as far as like this person needs this onboarding, this training is happening. So it's pretty fluid. Yep.
And the second piece of that is noting that this is now a 260-day contract. So daily rate of pay is below what our principals are making on a daily rate of pay on this. So to me, it's in line.
What was the days before for the teacher and learning director?
225.
So I think at this point, we have a motion and a second. I think we'll move forward and take a vote here. So all those in favor of approval of the 23, 24, 24, 25, 25, 26 Director of Student and Staff Support, state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
The motion carries. So with that, we'll go on to 6.2.9, approve Superintendent Matuska's performance package for 23, 24. Thank you, Ashley. 22, 23 performance package that we invested a meeting on that. Superintendent Matuska, I don't believe heard from any board members who have questions or concerns about that package. So
No, I think early in May is when we presented it first, and I asked if anybody had any comments or questions or had any additions, and I haven't heard back from anybody since that date. I made a few changes on the performance package on the first and the second, but they're fairly minor. But I just thought we'd bring it to the June meeting.
thank you. So we have a motion to approve that.
I have a quick question. The performance package had two different pieces to it. Are we voting on it as one sum, or do we vote on each individual piece?
So this is on both of those pieces, as there was no questions about either of those pieces from any board member, and Superintendent Matuska did walk through that entire thing with us. So otherwise, we could have broken that up, but there was no feedback on that. So that's why it's one motion here. So, do we have a motion to approve that? Thank you, Mark. And a second. Thank you, Andrew. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor of approval of Superintendent Matuska's 22-23 performance bonus, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
And motion passes. We are on 6.2.10. Approve the resolution for 23-24 membership. Do we have a motion to approve that?
I vote to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Angie. Thank you, Brandon. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor of the approval of the Minnesota State High School League resolution for 23-24 membership, state aye. I think that was it. Was that everybody? No. Okay. Opposed, same sign, I guess. And motion passes. So 6.2.11, approve the student activities fee increase. And I know this came to finance. Any comments on this before we?
Well, Brock apologized for not being able to attend today, but what we saw from the Mayo Clinic provides for us an athletic trainer. And the athletic trainer cost, if you look at that link, the increase in the cost for that trainer are around 14,000 and some change. And we thought it might be appropriate. Bob and I couldn't remember, not in my tenure, and Bob thought it might be 15 years plus that we've actually increased the fee for any students participating in any activity, whether it be a fine arts or a athletic activity. Upon a discussion with the finance committee and Brock and I and Bob, we thought maybe after 15 plus years, it might be time to take a look at what we charge for a participation fee for our student athletes and our student activity members. So we decided to propose to the school board keeping the middle school fee at $75, but jumping the high school grades 9 through 12 to $100. And I mentioned we're going to be about 14,000, nearly 14,500 short. When Brock estimated we have 584 athletes at $20 increase, gets you about a little over 11 and a half. And if we did 200 that were involved in activities, that's about another 400. So that would put us at 15,680. One of the reasons we want to keep this as low as possible is because the board has a goal to try to get as many people to participate as we possibly can. And we've done extremely well. That participation rate is really high, and we don't want that to fall. We still offer a lot of scholarships to a lot of kids, and we've got donors in different ways that those dollars have been paid for our kids who need a little scholarship. If you take a look at the link within the link, are you there, Carlin?
Yeah.
You've got to push on the 22-23 fees, but that's the most current. And you notice even if we jump to $100, we're still under everybody except for Goodhue. So we had a big discussion as well about whether or not we include a family max. And we decided against going with a family max, mainly because we offer scholarships. And if a family is in trouble, even if they've paid a few bucks, we're more than willing to help them out anytime. And I know Brock communicates that extremely well to all the student athletes and the kids that are interested in fine arts activities. So the proposal is to increase the cost for our 9-12 athletes who actually get the most use out of our athletic trainers. And I really hate to do it, but I think it's probably time we jump to $100, and I strongly recommend the board approve that.
Thank you, Mr. Matuska. Any questions on that? Okay, so we have a motion to approve the student activities fee increase. Thanks, Brent. Second. Thanks, Angie. Any discussion on that? None. All those in favor of approval of the student activities fee increase, state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. We're on to 6.2.4, approve the adult lunch price increase of 30 cents for 23-24 school year to $4.95.
Pretty self-explanatory. You can still get an adult lunch here for less than $5. So
That'd be the only place in town. So, do we have a motion to approve the adult lunch price increase? Thank you, Patrick. And a second?
A second.
Thank you, Kate. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of the student activities fee increase, say aye. I'm sorry, let me say that again. All those in favor of approval of the adult lunch price increase of 30 cents, state aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. And we're on to informational items. Next regular school board meeting is July 24th, high school common forum room. And the next special school board meeting is August 7th. We do have a bit of a dilemma on the 24th. I think right now, Angie, Amy, and myself are all out of town for that meeting on the 24th. So we need to make a decision if we're gonna have a quorum or if we're gonna move the meeting.
So that's whatever works for me.
another option would be to make the special school board meeting on Monday, August 7th, the next regular school board meeting, and delete the July meeting.
I don't think we can do that. We have to do something in July. Because boards getting me.
You would have a quorum and then I believe it would defer to Brandon, Chair.
Okay.
I think we should move it, because what if somebody's sick or, I mean, then we're just one person, it could, I'm flexible too.
Everybody's gone that Monday.
What about the Monday before? What date is that?
17th.
I can do that one.
I can also do the 17th.
I don't know.
Should we send out to see what
Do we have to have this scheduled by a certain time? How much time? It's just 3. Because we published it. So.
you can have your special meeting. You let us know what you want us to do, Carlin. Will send
Okay.
out a doodle poll and we
We'll send out, yep. So right now, for the 17th, we have 6 yeses and 1 maybe. So, okay. So we'll send out a doodle poll, see if we have something better. If not, if we don't have anything better than that, then we'll go with the 17th. Everybody okay with that? Okay. So the next special school board meeting is August 7th at 6 p.m. in the forum room. And that's it for tonight. Anything else before we adjourn? We have a motion for adjournment. Thanks, in a second. Thanks, Brandon. All in favor of adjournment, say aye. Aye. Means adjourned. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Have a great night.
Oh.